Are you ready?
Hello, everybody. My name is Astrid Edwards, and it is my great privilege today to be bringing you another conversation with one of Australia's best writers. This is a series, conversations with some of the best thinkers in Australia at the moment, all from the arts sector, all writers who can shed light on what on earth is happening around us. Today we have Carly Findlay. Carly, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
I have so many questions for you today, but first, a little bit of housekeeping. For those watching, this is going to be a half-an-hour chat. We will wrap up on time, but for anybody who wants to ask Carly a question, please do. You can just type it into the Slido function, and you need a code, and the code is afternoon tea and talk, and that's with a capital ATANT. So afternoon tea and talk, and send through all of your questions to Carly. Now, Carly, you are a well-known writer, activist, and speaker. You published your memoir, Say Hello, and one of the things I really want, there it is, Say Hello. One of the things I really want to talk to you today about is the anthology that you're editing.
Yes.
Growing Up Disabled in Australia. We both have our uncorrected proof early copies. This was delayed because of COVID-19. So can you give us the intro to Growing Up Disabled in Australia?
Yes, so Growing Up Disabled in Australia is an anthology, part of the Black Ink Books Growing Up series. I was fortunate enough to be asked by Maxine Beniba-Clark to write for Growing Up African in Australia, and the day I got asked for that, I pitched Growing Up Disabled to my agent, who pitched it to Black Ink, who took it over a few weeks, of course. It didn't just happen immediately. And it is an anthology of over 40 disabled Australians. We have Elle Gibbs, Jessica Walton, Jessica Knight. We have Astrid Edwards. We also have people that are growing up, Isis Holt, and who's a Paralympian. And we have people in their 80s as well. So we've got a really broad range of people, perspectives. We've got Dion Beasley, who is an Aboriginal artist who has illustrated some pages. And we've got Sarah Firth, who's an artist as well. And a few other people have drawn pictures and poetry. Jane Rosengrave, who's an amazing advocate for people who have survived institutional abuse, and I'm really, really proud of the amount of people. So we were meant to have this out in June, and it's been delayed until February.
So a caveat, as Carly mentioned, I am a contributor to Growing Up Disabled in Australia, which is one of the many reasons that I wanted to talk to Carly about it. But I mean, this anthology means a lot to me as a contributor. It means a lot to everybody who is a contributor, and also it sits in that Black Ink series, which is so important to up and coming writers in Australia. We've had Growing Up Queer, Growing Up Aboriginal, Growing Up African. This is an important series. Can you tell us about, like, how do you postpone a book by like 9 months?
Well, I know that access has been accessibility for disabled people as contributors, and also as the audience, has been something that's been very, very important to me from when I pitched the book. So our first meeting with the publisher, we talked about what will make accessible contributions or submissions, and also what the accessible points need to be throughout. So with contracts, with book events, with communicating with the writers. And so when we decided to postpone the book, it was because of COVID, and it was because of accessibility. So many disabled people are vulnerable to COVID, and I don't like using that word because I feel like it means the onus is on us to take more care. But, due to barriers in society and compromised immune systems, and often the lack of regard for disabled lives, it means that we're very vulnerable at this time. And so to run an event with disabled contributors, and also the majority of the audience, I think, will be disabled because there's such a hunger for this book, it would be irresponsible for us. At this stage, we can't run big events. It was due out on June the 1st, so maybe we could have run it in a restaurant with 10 people. But we want to give this book the biggest chance it can get. And as you know, book events sell a lot of books, book launches sell a lot of books. And I feel like if we had an event, if we had a launch online, it wouldn't have been as successful. And the contributors, many of whom haven't haven't had an opportunity in the publishing industry before, would miss out on that, because a book event is a wonderful event, and I think that everyone deserves that and deserves the media. And the other thing is, at the moment, the media is very focused on COVID, and in a non-pandemic time, it's very hard to get disability coverage in the media anyway. So I fear that the media around this book would be compromised, for a better word, because COVID has inundated the media. So I want to give this book a chance to stand alone, and hopefully by February we can do that. So it was, the publisher's decision, and we worked through this, and I feel like we've made the best decision, because we've had a lot of media about this already. I wrote for Arts Hub, I've had this event, I did something for Triple R, and it's been, so, I wanted to position it as a good news story as well, that we are caring for the contributors and the audience.
And being responsible, as we should all be at this point in time, in terms of social gatherings.
Yeah,
I agree. As a contributor, I totally agree 100% with the postponement, but I'm interested in, I was a bit sad, and I'm interested in what response that you've had from the other contributors, given, as you just mentioned, it's a really big deal to be published, particularly for the first time, in such a prestigious anthology. And given that we are in COVID and opportunities are dropping rapidly, how are the contributors feeling?
I think that the response has been really positive, and they've understood. I think some have been, a lot of people have said they're sad, and I was sad. This is a big loss. We're grieving in this time, but many of them understand it. And I'm sure that people wouldn't want to go out. We're dipping our toes back into the community, and it is hard enough to organise an accessible event, because just that the world isn't built for disabled people, unfortunately. And so to do this on top of COVID would have been hugely irresponsible. So I think that they understand, and I really wanted to give them the fanfare. I experienced an amazing fanfare for my book tour for Say Hello last year. I wanted to give people that experience too. Yeah.
My niece lives in Sydney, and this morning I was on the phone to her, Carly, and I was telling her all about this book and how she'll be invited. Well, I will invite her to the launch in Sydney, and put it on her social calendar, essentially.
And it's super exciting. One of the things I am working on, which I'm really excited, I'm working with Children and Young People with Disability Australia, and also Equity Trustees, who gave me a grant to do this, is working on media preparation for this book. So many disabled people haven't had the chance to be in the media. If they have, often it's a really bad experience. The media reports on disability pretty poorly. So what I'm doing is developing a set of media guidelines for how I would like the book to be reported on for the media, and also to prepare the contributors for approaching the media and working at festivals and things. So, working out their elevator pitch and talking about their book succinctly, and how to share their book on social media. Things that have worked for me and other writers, and that's been a really exciting project as well. And one of the good things is I'm getting paid to do this, but also I'm able to pay other people to help me, graphic designers, editors, videographers, because we're going to do a video, and when we can do a video, and I think it'll be a really good resource, and Children and Young People with Disability Australia will get a version of that resource as well.
Congratulations, Carly. That is something that we do need. I did want to talk to you about social media. So obviously you have a large social media presence, and you have built one up over a long time, well before COVID-19.
Yeah, it's 10 years of it. 10 years? Yeah, it took 10 years actually from my Facebook page to, reach.
You did the work.
Yeah, did the work.
Now in COVID-19, so much of our lives are now being lived online in social media and platforms like this. Normally we would meet and talk face to face. We're on Zoom now.
Yeah.
What has the social media space been like for you as an activist and a writer?
Last night there was a meme that was going around, I think by Books on the Rail, and it said something like, your memoir will be 2020 in the last text that you wrote on your phone, that you sent on your phone. And so I put it in, and it was like 2020, I put it on IGTV, and someone said, that is just like, that's a sign of the times. We're doing everything on social media. I was talking with Kirina Stammel and her husband last night. Kirina is a host on Play School, and they live in the UK. And, they're actors, and Kirina is on Play School and her husband's on Coronation Street. And they said they never would have thought they'd be making a kids show in their kitchen on their phone. I've been using my phone a lot, like for, Instagram lives. I've also been taking a lot of selfies because that's all I can do, really, which is fun. And I've been trying to dress up every day. And I guess, one of my things on social media is to show my fashion. So I've been dressing up every day to feel good, to make me want to work and be productive. So that's been really fun, having fun with what I've already got in the wardrobe. And also I have been participating in these events on Zoom. I think one of the tricky things is people just rushing to put things online and it not being accessible. So accessibility is really hard to build in when you don't have the experience of these things. Well, Zoom is quite accessible because you can use programs like Otter AI to caption. You still have to pay for it. You have to work out how to do it. And I feel that people have rushed online and made it, made some hasty decisions that aren't accessible. But for many audience members and also, participants as we are now, it's making the world much more accessible to them because they haven't had the chance to see the orchestra or a play or, I think one of my favourite things that I've done since COVID is being able to talk to Darren Hayes on Instagram Live. I mean, he's my ultimate, and I got to chat to him for 7 minutes. And it was just incredible because we're having this access to people that we haven't had before. I work at Melbourne Fringe, and our CEO loves Darren Hayes as well. And he's always said, ring any time if it's an emergency. I rang him at like 9:30. Simon, I've just watched Darren Hayes. I've just spoken to Darren Hayes on Instagram. And I think he thought it was an emergency.
It was a good news story. Carly, I agree with you. I think that in some ways this move online means that some things are more accessible that don't happen near you, or if you are a person who can't get to events, you can be participating, but also there are lots of barriers still in technology. And it is not an easy or automatic or free fix. Have you found, I don't quite know how to phrase this, have you found the online environment in this very stressful time like a safe place, a place of community, or angsty?
Yes, overall, yes. Given how visual Instagram is, I get very little trolling, given I have a facial difference and skin condition. But I have received some pretty bad trolling, as you might have seen recently.
I have.
I have definitely found lots of support, lots of people checking in. It's really lovely to have phone calls and Zooms and things. But, yeah, I mean, I have still found really difficult times, some pretty horrible lateral violence in the disability community, to be honest. But overall, it's been lovely. I really enjoy the virtual drinks with my colleagues on a Friday night. I'm really enjoying catching up with people that I haven't caught up before. I think people are making a really conscious effort to do that. People are sending me lots of DMs on Instagram, particularly about how my work has helped them, or we're just having really fun conversations, cooking especially, people sharing recipes. It's been really nice, and I feel like it has been a really positive thing. I got published on CNN, which has been amazing, and
I saw that.
That was because I did an online event. I did it was in real life, but it was one of the last events I did before COVID, and it was at the Sydney Opera House, and someone from CNN watched it and they asked me to write, and the response has been amazing. I mean, just being able to reach so many people through a global news channel, the process was really lovely. I spoke with Rick Goodotti last week. Rick runs Positive Exposure, which is a photography initiative for people with facial differences and genetic conditions, which was really amazing. And also our friend Tina, who lives in India, we got to speak to her. It has been overall a safe place, but there has been some pretty difficult times, particularly this week.
I am sorry to hear that. A few minutes ago you mentioned the words lateral violence. I am sorry that you have experienced that, and for those who are watching us now who don't know that term, can you just explain it to us?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the ableism, that's discrimination towards disabled people within the community, and it's also the tearing down of people in the community. We're not doing disability right. We're not doing activism right, and it has been a journey for me, for my own personal success, which I'd like to think that I bring so many people with me when I do things like this anthology is an example of that. But I feel sometimes in the disability community we're not seen to be able to be allowed to have individual success. people think we should have communal success, and that can be really hard. So yeah, it's been a time.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking about that a bit more? Like, obviously, I think everybody listening understands the difference between individual success and communal success. And I am part of the disability community, and one person's success in a way is all of our successes, because that means that there is less discrimination and stigma, but also we're all individuals and all so different, and all disability differently. So can you speak to how you feel about that and the tension that you find then?
Yeah, I feel like by somebody having a book out in the disability community, it opens up more opportunities, because obviously publishers are, can see what's possible. Readers can see what's possible. One of the things that I really love is people writing to me to tell me, because of my book, I've helped them in some way, and I do that for other people as well. I think I wouldn't have. Obviously, I got approached to write for CNN, but so many disabled people before me have written for that and for Washington Post and New York Times. And, when I see them, I think, wow, that's what's possible. And I feel like some people think that we are taking away that success if we achieve success individually, or there's not enough time or not enough room for them. I feel like, the community is so diverse, and we have such diverse experiences, that we need to do disability in our own way, and we need room to grow and make mistakes and learn. And I feel if we are constantly yelled at for doing the wrong thing or the supposed wrong thing, no one is going to do anything. It's better to do something than to do nothing because of fear.
Absolutely. Carly, I was reading your blog earlier today, and I think that you are an accomplished individual. I wanted to speak with you today. And on your blog, and I'm just looking down because I'm looking at my notes, in one of your recent blogs, you said that when you were asked by someone in the media what your greatest achievement was, you said to defy the low expectations that are held of you. And that's so horrible for someone to everything about that is wrong. So
I think when I was studying my master's, for example, I went to RMIT, amazing place where I did my master's. I took a very long time to do it because I was working full time and, managing chronic illness. But I would talk to people about study. A lot of people think when you study part time, you might be going to night school, which I was. But there was the assumption that I was going to TAFE, which is fine. TAFE's great, and I want to do.
TAFE is fantastic, but
But it's, I studied at the postgraduate level. It is it's great to see you out and about. Or, I think Beck Shaw, was it Beck Shaw? It was someone that wrote, now I can't think who it was. That's right. Tanya Hennessy wrote a really great post last week, and Beck Shaw wrote a really great post on being plus size as well for the ABC. But Tanya Hennessy wrote how she's really sick of people saying it's really great to see a bigger girl in the media. And so when people say that, it is great to see representation, but sometimes you don't want to be known for that, or you don't want to be that only person doing that, especially when it's said by other people. I feel like disabled people should be able to inspire each other, but if I'm inspiring someone for getting out of bed and going to work on the train or even in the house as we are now, that's not inspirational. That's just me doing my job. So I think it is, define the low expectations. Even doctors who didn't predict I was going to live, or who didn't, I desperately wanted to be a dermatologist when I was younger, desperately. And then I found out that it'll be 18 years of study and I wouldn't be able to do it until I'm 36, and I'd have to cut up animals, and I'm like, no, don't want to do it. But, I was dissuaded because they said you can either be a patient or a doctor, but you can't be both. So it's defying that. And I sent on my CNN article to my dermatologist, who I'd been seeing for many years. I don't see him so much now, but I've been seeing him since I was 6. And he was just so amazed to see this representation in the media. So it's great. It's nice.
It's more than great. I mean, CNN is like, a career achievement. So again, well done.
Thank you.
All of the work that you do is about, regardless of what platform, whether it's speaking or writing, it's about inclusion, it's about visibility, it's about representation. And you are known for that and respected for that. You work both in the kind of broader arts sector at Melbourne Fringe. You're a writer. You are also an advocate within the disability community.
Mhm.
I'm really aware and worried about all the changes I'm seeing for those people around me who either live with a disability or are in the arts sector or both. What are your opening
Yeah.
thoughts on that big?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's taken a blow, and cafe workers, particularly people in the events industry, but people in the arts industry have definitely taken a blow with cancellations. I had 4 or 5 months of speaking opportunities lined up from March. My speaking opportunities really started from March, and nearly all of them have gone. I've had a couple of them go online, which is great, but most of them have gone or postponed. I don't know what's happening with them. So I've lost tens of thousands of dollars of income. I've said no to a lot of things working for free because I just can't afford to at the moment. I'm very, very lucky to work at Melbourne Fringe, and we work from home. This is the 10th week we've been working at home. We've been doing a great job, I think, interacting with colleagues and getting the work done. But I found it a bit lonely. I really love going into the office. I work there half the week. And so to go into the office has been really lovely, because the rest of the week in my freelancing, I sometimes don't see people. All my travel's been cut. The last trip I took was to Sydney. Ruby Princess was docked right next to our speaking venue, which, anyway, try not to think about that. But I feel like it's a really scary time. When a venue is going to open up, how a venue is going to go, when are we going to be booked again to speak in person? How are people going to afford art? Or actually, I have cut down on my spending a lot since this, but I've been buying books because it's really important to. So, how are people going to afford that? Will they want to come out and see things? Will they be, confident enough to? Venues going to take the right precautions? It's been really, really hard. I've been listening to a great podcast. Bob Evans, one of my favourites, has been doing a podcast with Josh Pike, Good Evans. It's a podcast, and they've been talking about COVID in the music industry, and that's been a really good insight. And also talking about, them being fathers and having to educate their children, homeschool their children at home. So I think there's that as well. I mean, people are being forced into these really weird situations where they haven't given any kind of thought.
Oh, Carly, we've just lost your...
They've suddenly have to become teachers, and one of the things I found is that my workday has extended so much. While I'm really grateful for the work I'm getting, I've done a few events, like Zoom events. If I'm working at Melbourne Fringe from 10 till 6, then I start an event 7:30 or even later, and my day doesn't finish till 10. So it's a lot. The workday's really extended. It's hard.
It is really hard. Carly, we have a question from someone watching online. Is it frustrating to always have to be talking about disability, and how do you cope with this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. I've made the decision to always talk about it because it's part of my identity. But I remember last year I was very lucky enough with you actually to go to Bali to the Ubud Writers Festival, and one of the questions that we got in the feminist panel with Lindy West and a few others was, if you didn't have to write about your activism, what would you write about? And I said, I want to write an article about Savage Garden. I did that. I achieved that. I really like to write about different things. Of course, I just got asked to write for Obus, which is a fashion label. I'm wearing Obus today. And they asked me to write about books, which I did. And in doing so, I threw in some stuff around disability because, you can do that incidentally. But yes, it can be hard. But also, I like to set my own terms. So it's not a bad thing. Disability is not a bad thing. But I like to, mix it up a bit. I would love to just be incidentally on the project or something, not talking about disability.
I think you're an excellent advocate for all manner of things, including disability. And as a person with a disability, I'm glad that you exist, and that I think you should get on the project one day, Carly.
I hope so. I have been twice. I just want to be not talking about myself.
Yeah. Now, Carly, I imagine that a lot of the people who are watching us here today have read your memoir and are interested in your writing, but also there are people interested in disability, and also people are interested in you as a public figure and you're very entertaining, I have to say, social media. Because of your social media, I'm wearing green today to honour you and your fashion sense.
Thank you. Thank you for putting some colour into your...
Absolutely, otherwise it would have been black. But for those people across that range, of your followers and of your audience, what would you like them to reflect on as we are starting to emerge slowly from COVID-19, bearing in mind the hard things that we know will come?
Yeah. Oh gosh, so much. Also, okay, so if you're inviting us to do some work for you, pay us, because we've lost so much work, and disabled people as a whole often get us to work for free. So no, pay us. The other thing is that, you know, we are, you know, susceptible to things, to illnesses. So, you know, if we're wearing a mask, don't be scared. Don't think we've got COVID. I was talking to a friend today who was a medical worker, and she often wears a mask, but, you know, she's often looked at really dirty, like she's stolen masks from medical workers. I mean, you know. The other thing is, I think, keep your distance and keep making things accessible. I mean, just post-COVID, don't stop doing Zoom events. Don't stop doing these live events, because we are showing the world how it can be accessible. We are also showing the world that working from home works, right?
Yes.
And so many people, I mean, including me, when I worked at the government, was denied working from home because no one trusted us. But we can work from home. It's fine. You know, the world hasn't ended yet. It might do. Ooh, I don't know if it will. Who knows what 2020 has in store? But, you know, like, you know, we're pretty productive.
Oh, look, absolutely. Carly, going back to what you said a moment ago, why do you think it is that people with a disability are so often asked to work for free?
Because of the low expectations, that we're just sitting around waiting for an opportunity, because of the charity model. I mean, the charity model of disability says that we should be, I guess, taken care of by the state or by charities, and that we're not given the right tools to live an independent life. And so if we're relying on charity all the time, then we're not able to live an independent and self-sustaining life. And so we're also seen as, you know, a good thing to do, a good news story. So, you know, with the media or with an organisation, if they invite a disabled person in to speak, well, that's, you know, ticking the diversity box. Or so yeah. So if one person says yes to working for free, then it'll give the idea that the whole community would like to work for free. So it's really important to pay us.
Absolutely, and that goes for the art sector as well as
yes, being a disabled artist and like just doubly problematic about working for free.
It really is. Now, we are slowly emerging from COVID, and there will be life after COVID. I was very jealous of your Instagram post earlier today, Carly, because not only did you leave the house, but you went book shopping. Tell me about this.
For the last 10 weeks, I've only been to the supermarket. I went to the hairdresser last week, actually. I've been to the doctor to get my flu shot. But other than that, very little outings. I've just been in my own suburb. Today, I went to readings and I went to Brunetti's. I had a cake at Brunetti's. I went to readings. I wore my mask in readings. Went to see a friend. We were in the car together. I thought, are we allowed to be in the car together? We were in the car together. It was great. Seeing people, buying things, supporting the economy. I'll show you what books I bought.
Yes,
I bought this really lovely book called Petal, which is a illustrated botanical book.
Gorgeous.
I bought Conjure Women, which is by an African-American writer, and I also bought Rodham, which is what Hillary Clinton might have been, or who Hillary Clinton might have been if she hadn't married Bill. And during this time, I'm really proud of the amount of books I've read as well. Like, I've listened to lots of audiobooks. I've had time. I haven't had much time. Like, people are baking and doing all sorts. I've not been doing that much. I've been cooking a lot, but I haven't got a new hobby. I don't know how to do sourdough yet. But I have been reading and listening to so many audiobooks. I think I've read over 30 books this year, and I only read maybe 36 last year. So, you know.
Yeah. Isn't that the greatest testament to art and creatives that, you know, during what is a horrific time around the world, so many of us have had to turn to, you know, creatives and to the arts and to all the stories that we can tell each other.
Yeah, it's been a lovely time.
It has been, well, mostly.
Well, no, hang on. Most of it's been a lovely time. I don't know how I'm going to go. I feel like I want to keep some of this momentum going of being isolated, but I also can't wait to get into the world again. Carefully.
I couldn't agree more. Carly, thank you so much for spending your time this afternoon. And I'm going to hold up my little advanced copy again because this is available for pre-order and it means so much to so many people.
Yeah, blackinkbooks.com.au, I think, is it?
I think so. Carly, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye, everyone.